So now let's talk about the flexibility of what geometry houses. That is, each of these geometry houses has their what meaning, but the meaning of these houses are not always rigid. Sometimes some meaning are rigid, while sometimes some meaning are flexible. What do I mean by what rigid and flexibility of the houses? Now, take it for instance, we all know that what house one is house of the war, the querent, that is the person asking the question. House two is house of what finance, that is the house of what finance and some other things, and so on and so forth. Those are the what many of our houses. But what I want us to understand in this video is that some meanings of the houses were changes, and there are factors that changes the meaning of the word house. Taking for instance that in the olden days, in the ancient days, there are things in the ancient days that each of these houses will represent, but in this current ages or in this current days, those things are no longer exist, or we no longer know them, or they no longer feasible to us. So the meaning of those are those things are no longer feasible to us, so we no longer attribute them to each of these houses, to any of these houses. Taking for instance as well, just like I said that in the ancient day there are some things that exist then that in these current days that they are no longer feasible to us, but those things when they were existing, there are houses of geometry that represent them in the ancient day. Now look at these current days. Now in these days now we now have what we call aeroplane. Now, there in the ancient day there was nothing like what aeroplane, but now we have aeroplane, and in that sense, we now have the house of geometry that represent what aeroplanes. So now the point I want to emphasize is that the meaning of these houses changes. There are some of them that changes. There are some of them that change, and there are some of them that doesn't change. That's what I mean by flexibility of the houses. Now there are conditions that makes a particular meaning of the house to change, and there are some. There are some conditions that makes. There are some condition when that happens, it makes the meaning of the houses to change. Let me give us a popular example that we are all familiar with. But before I give us the popular example that we are all familiar with, let me tell us something here. Now, look at it this way. There are some factors that changes the meaning of the houses. There are some factors that change the meaning of the houses. One of the factors is, for instance, the time of casting the chart can change some meaning of the houses. Number two, the nature of the question you are asking can change the meaning of the houses. Number three, the person asking the question can change the meaning of the houses. If you are casting a chart for somebody who is an elderly person, some of the meaning of these houses will change. If you are casting for somebody who is an adult or a baby or an infant, the meaning of these houses will changes. Those are another factor. I mentioned time can change the meaning of the houses. The nature of the question you are asking can change the meaning of the houses. The person asking the question can also change the meaning of the houses. Let me give an example that is popular, or that is easily for us to understand. For us to understand. Taking for instance now, if a querent is a female person, you automatically know that this house will be house 7 will be house of a male person. If querent is a female person, that automatically house 7 will be a house of a female person. Can you see the gender of a querent is determining who is in what the meaning of house 7. So that is how the querent also has an influence on the nature, the meaning of the houses. So time as well. Also, like I said, there was one of the chat in one of the video I've explained that sometimes when you want to cast some question that has to do with yearly chart, don't let me go deeply into that because I've used a video to explain that prior before now. But let me just go straight to the point. Now, the major focus I want to place here now, I've highlighted some factors that could bring changes to the meaning of the houses. Now, I want to place more one focus on particular one of them, which is the person asking the question. How do the person asking the question has influence on the meaning of the houses? Now, I've given us the example that we are familiar with, that the gender will change house 7. Now, let me give another example again. That if querent is a married person, house 7 is house of the querent partner. But let's say querent is not married. It's not married at all. It's not married. House 7 will not be house of querent partner. House 7 is house of querent mothers. House 7 is not house of it's not house of querent mothers. But if querent is not married, house 7 is house of querent mother. I hope it is clear. There is a house of mother. there is a house of mother, but that house of mother changes once this what house 7 change. Once querent is not a what a married person, house 7 becomes what house of what querent mothers. So the querent, who a querent is, influence some many of the houses. It means if querent is not married yet, whichever house, other houses that represent house of mother will no longer be house of mother. House 7 will then represent what house of the what querent what mothers. If querent is not married though, let me give an example. This is a house 5, which is house of what children. House of children as well. This is house of querent children. Let's say querent is not doesn't have children at all. He's not doesn't have children, yet he is married. You know, once querent becomes married, house 7 will become house of the mother. Sorry, house 7 will become house of the partner. But if querent is not married, house 7 is house of what mother. But if querent is married, house 7 becomes house of querent partner. Now this is house what? House 5, which is house of children. If querent is married, this house 5 becomes a what? House of the querent. And sorry, if querent is married and querent doesn't have children yet, this becomes what? House of what? Querent what? Mother. Querent has married, but querent has not given birth, has not. This becomes what? House of what? Querent what? Mothers. Let's say querent is married, querent already has what married, then querent has gotten some freedom, then we then go back to the war house of the war original house of the war querent mothers. There is a house of what querent mother. If querent is not married, and has not given birth, that original house of what querent mother will be suspended. The querent mother will be taking the role of what wife. That is why querent mother will be here. Querent mother will be taking the role of his or her partner. Sorry, yes, querent will be taking the role of war. But once immediately querent has become married, the mother will shift away from the war. The querent partner roles. It will shift to this one, to this place, house 5, which is house of war children. But immediately querent has having children, has gotten children, has born, giving birth, querent mother will no longer stay here again, will now go back to the war, another house. That is how geomancy rotates. So knowing who the querent is sometimes change the meaning of the houses. That is one of the striking points I want to make us to understand in this particular video, and I hope we understand it that well. There's what we call flexibility of geomancy chart. So and I've shown you how querent, the nature of the querent influences the meaning of the houses. It is much more than this, but I just want us at least to understand this first. So, and thank you for, I hope you understand one or two things in this video, and thank you for watching the video. May God bless you miraculously.